Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake, an always special edition when Foolish Bailey joins the program. It's what the people want, Bailey. The numbers don't lie. You know that more than anyone.
I mean, well, I love to lie with numbers personally, but in this case, hopefully the numbers don't lie.
Well, and we're kind of diving into that topic a little bit. There are due to be clips that make us look awful, which is my specialty. And Bailey, I have to give you credit because I wanted to talk about some of the young guys in baseball. Every year, there's so much turnover in baseball. And even the scarier part of it is that those guys become the turnover and we don't even realize. And it's what happened to that guy? And, a guy we're going to talk about a little bit that actually started part of this thought exercise is my necklace partner, Oswaldo Cabrera, because I think there's currently all ranges of the spectrum. If you like him, he's a talented switch hitter that can play everywhere, which you can make a 10-year career out of that. You could compare him to Marwin and peak Marwin, whatever that means to you. Or, there's people in this office that think he'll be out of the league in a minute, which the beauty of baseball, Bailey, is we never really know. And there's a lot more of the higher-end guys, the Outmans and Josh Jung, my guy Perdomo. How is he one-dotting? So I'm excited to talk about it with you, and you deserve all the credit for this, Bailey. Breakout or Fakeout, really good. Really
That's
good. So before we dive, how are you doing? You just said foolish stuff's going well, your Braves are going well, life's well?
Life's well. It's really windy in Atlanta, Georgia, and I don't know why. It's been like this for like 3 days. Because it's perfect weather otherwise.
The older you get, and not to get on my old guy perch early, you just start to get it. That there's parts of the world that don't deal with bad weather, and you're like, why don't we? If I can,
why don't we just go there?
What talking to a microphone? You start to understand Stugatz and Lebitard a little bit. Enough about that. Glad you're well. Bailey, let's start out with some of the big boys. And you and I worked on consulting down a list. Who do we have to apologize? Who got kicked off at the last minute? Tovar?
I think it was
Zeke Tovar.
Yeah, Jake McCarthy. Now, I guess of the Reno Aces.
Yeah.
If I have that right, yeah.
Yeah. Speed kills. They were part of our just miss list, and I do have to tell the people, Bailey, and if you want to twist the knife on this, I got a little soft. Originally, I wanted to do like a MLB comparison, like maybe player comps, and I went through, will Josh Jung have Trevor Plouffe's career, which made me laugh a lot. We'll stay away from that for now. We kind of organized them in buckets, and it's really, for what my profession is, just being honest with the people, to say like into a microphone, this guy's going to stink and be out of the league in 2 years. There's no gain for me. A, I don't know. And B, it's just like an awful look for a 24-year-old kid in a sport where, Luke Raley's on this list. Or excuse me. Yes, Luke Raley. I keep confusing the Raley boys. He's 28. What would I have said about him as a 26-year-old minor leaguer? Like, probably not going to click, man. And now I would kill for him to be on the Yankees. So, baseball has a way of presenting itself. And this first crew that you told me we should maybe look at a possible ranking. There's 5 guys in here, and we will sort through them. And I believe they could all be labeled as outfielders. Oswaldo might give a question mark to that, but we have Outman for the Dodgers. James Outman, if you don't know, he has been a world beater and carrying that team with Max Muncy. The baseball savant loves him. Whenever Dodgers have a prospect, you get nervous, and he's exceeded, even with his small sample size from last year, 4 games. So I'll move on from that. Jack Suwinski, who put up some big homer numbers last year, and kind of gave, just with the name and being a lefty pure power hitter, I don't know, in the Midwest, it was like Matt Stairs vibes. He's gone out to have a fantastic start of the season. That who are you, Jack Suwinski? Raley, like I mentioned with the Rays. Joey Wiemer, part of the freshmen with the Milwaukee Brewers. And our Yankees, Oswaldo Cabrera, who of this crew has gotten off to a pretty brutal start. But like I mentioned, if you're viewing things as an MLB career with what he can do defensively, a guy that genuinely can play, I think 6 positions. I think you can negotiate that a little bit. And a switch hitter that, if 1 or 2 things click along the way, those guys can have a career a long way. And the 2 other categories that we'll get to in a little bit, you labeled heat check, which I want to ask you about that a little bit, but some good names in there. And then the bounce back crew with some of the pitchers. So let's do the meat of this, and I'll kick to you to start, Bailey, and I don't know if we need to land on official ranking, but I guess what feels like the big fish in this group for me is James Outman, because he's doing it for the Dodgers. This guy had a little bit of prospect capital, and he's full tilt going.
Yeah. So Outman, we need to come up with like a verb for it when you're like, drafted out of college, not like a premium draft position in terms of the round, and then you just like crush every single level of the minors, and then by the time we get to the majors and you're still good, people are like, I can't believe it, even though they've been doing this for years. I think we could call it Pasquantinoing, because that's what James Outman has done. His worst since 2021, so since baseball came back, minor league baseball came back, his worst OPS at any level is 857. That was in high A. So he's only, kind of gotten better since then. I mean, he's easily like a 130, 140 OPS plus guy consistently at every single level. And then now all of a sudden he's hit the big leagues with the Dodgers, and this is on us. We're all a little bit too surprised that James Outman is just like tearing it up. Of course he is. Look at what he's done his entire, professional career.
Bailey, it's something that blew my mind. I want to say the first time that I really like tilted my head and was like, and this is not an exact comparison, but baseball's so hard that you can be a super prospect and struggle at AA your first year, because like that's how baseball works. Lance Lynn, he's a guy that for years it was just like, he's Lance Lynn. He's a big burly starter with a big old beard. Lance Lynn, go look at his minor league numbers, and it in the PCL at the first time AAA, his numbers were boosted a little bit, but so are kind of everyone's in the PCL. That it was like, when Lance Lynn broke out as like potential Cy Young Lance Lynn a couple years ago, it was a real head tilt for me that it's like, wait, he's always been good. Like there's never been a hiccup. And with Outman, you're so right, man. Dodgers have to be treated differently. I know some people might not like that, but organizationally, whether it's retooling veterans or calling up young players or, also having money to go get Mookie Betts, the Dodgers are a class franchise. Although, as I know you tweet out every day, they have a Mickey Mouse championship, and, Dodger fans hate.
Yes, I do. I do. And wait to hear my opinions about Apple Watches.
After this, that Outman, like you said, the career minor league numbers are all good. It's an 859 OPS, which, for some of these super prospects isn't insane, but it's never bad. And now he's come up to the majors, and you can go into the hokey Pete Rose speech if you want, that like major league's the easiest league to hit in because the pitchers throw strikes. I won't fully go there for Pete, who he'll be on in 15 minutes, and we're going to dive into some of those earlier topics. But Outman, man, I guess for me, how many full Dodger baseball games have I watched this year? Sunday I throw on all the screens and I dive in. So, I haven't deep dove into how I truly feel about James Outman. But for me, it's going to be hard to not put this guy at 1, Bailey.
Can I tell you who I want to put at 1?
Please.
Jack Suwinski.
Really?
Jack Suwinski is my guy. This guy, he's going nuts. But let me give you the Jack Suwinski stat that was like, hold on, wait a second. And this was coming into this year. And this is like a really good, like arbitrary Tim Kirkjian-y statcasty type stat. But it does represent something to me. Okay. So these are 3 hitters last year in 2022, not 2023. 3 hitters last year, 70th percentile or better, max exit velocity. So they've got, the pop, barrel percentage. So they got the pop, but they hit at the right launch angle, chase percentage. They don't chase too much, sprint speed. They're fast, outs above average. They're athletic. There are only 3 hitters who are 70th percentile in all 5 of those categories. It was Mike Trout, Matt Chapman, who mind you has been maybe the best hitter in baseball this year. The third one was Jack Suwinski. This guy, he's you talk about the power, and I totally agree. He's got great power. He's a great home run hitter, but I think what's being underrated here is the level of just overall athleticism. And I really do think with Suwinski, and I can't quite I don't quite have that feeling with Outman yet, where you can almost guarantee it. I feel like with Suwinski, we're seeing a quick ascension to being one of the top outfielders in the league, similar to that of what his teammate Brian Reynolds experienced just a few years ago.
BBD, open Jack Suwinski's Baseball Savant and tell me if you like it.
It's a lot of red. I opened it up once.
It's heavy. It's heavy red bubbles, which is always a good sign. And I think Suwinski, for me, is an interesting case of something that we've been seeing for the past 3 years now of what did you do in 2020?
Right.
A lot of us were locked inside in our homes, and picture again being a baseball player, and that's kind of the beauty of this. Like you mentioned James Outman. I think he was the Dodgers' 7th round pick in 2018. Jack Suwinski out of high school in 2016, and leading up to 2020, his minor league numbers are not very good. There's 1 year of doubling up on A ball that is okay, but since 2020, his numbers are a changed player, and I think we've seen this in the minor leagues with a lot of prospects of kind of what did you do, or did your body change, or what was it that if you take out, and again it's 4 years of pro ball, which feels bizarre to throw that out for Jack Suwinski. But also, it was ages 17 to 20. So I can throw that out. We're talking about a 24-year-old now. He turns 25 this summer. That he casually hit a bunch of homers last year. He hit 19 in 106 games while riding the bus a little bit. And by the way, riding the bus a little unfairly. I remember it very much felt like Pirates. Like, what? You're sending that guy down? He hit a home run against the Yankees that, and again, maybe if I was Scout Jake, which I do have my weird John Boy Media outfit on right now where I kind of have Scout vibes, regional Scout vibes. Put that in the Bumble bio for those of you at home still trying to link up. And this was brought to you by Bumble. No. Suwinski, man, that Baseball Savant page speaks. The ball jumped off his bat. I forget who he clipped on the Yankees, but I was like, that's not a home run. And it was. And I guess, Bailey, I would ask you this. Was any part of last year, is he a shift guy at all? I don't know off the top of my head, and if you don't, I'm sorry.
I don't know either. I know he's a hit the ball in the air type guy. I think for him, he's kind of like last year. I don't feel like the amount of strikeouts he had was necessarily representative of who he is, just because he's pretty passive up there. He's definitely selective and looking for his pitch, but he also doesn't chase that much. So, it's not that surprising to see, strikeout rate cut and walk rate up. And then when you combine that with his power and athleticism, he's just off to an awesome start to the season. But he's always been kind of 3 true outcome even in the minors.
Man. Okay, so I'm a little... So between him and Outman, because when I was also trying to do this exercise in my head and not trying to be rude to players, I was wondering if there was a heads-up exercise, and Outman versus Suwinski would have been the heads-up. And I assumed it kind of would have been Outman, but they both have sprint speed. They're both catching the ball outs above average-wise. Outman's whiff percentage and K percentage are pretty high, as are Suwinski's. He's just barreling the ball a little better, so I guess if you're splitting hairs between them, is it just like, I like the name Suwinski, or, you got a little more pop to him?
Yeah, or do I like that one of them's on the Dodgers?
Right, which is honestly kind of my bias right now, that I'm probably letting a little bit of this uniform been bad for 6 years. This uniform been good for 6 years. That's where I'm unfortunately falling.
Yeah, I mean, it's caveman brain, right?
That's all I have.
His name, Outman. Out bad? Out good? Out of park?
I genuinely was going to mention that at one point, because having the name Outman in baseball, that's tough, dude.
Yeah.
That's the whole sport.
That's tough. If you're a pitcher, that's great for you, but as a hitter, yeah, that's tough.
Oh, James Outman, the pitcher, we would talk about every episode on Talking Baseball.
I mean, there's a Grant Balfour as a closer. Like that's the worst it's ever been.
He needed to be an Aussie, and luckily he was. And luckily for you guys, if you're trying to up your food game, go check out HelloFresh. HelloFresh.com/Jake16. Okay. For 16 free meals. Okay, that makes more sense. I was wondering if we were doing 16% off. With code Jake16, you will get 16 free meals plus free shipping. If this is something you're struggling with in your life, whether it's getting to the grocery store, cooking, or both, HelloFresh helps out with the hassle of mealtime. They've got 40 recipes, 100 seasonal and convenience items to choose from each week. They have some limited time recipes in partnership with Chef Serbi Sani. Not in my book, but maybe he's the next James Outman. Maybe that's the next Jack Suwinski. So, hey, and there's no worries if you're not a pro in the kitchen. They've got their foolproof recipes. Me and my Jessica, we got a recipe that had some potatoes, some chicken, mushrooms, a little gravy in there. And it was a nice time. It turned into a couples activity for us. So maybe if you're looking to scratch that itch, or if you just want some better food, go check out HelloFresh.com/Jake16, code Jake16, 16 free meals plus shipping. And there's a link in the description. Are you a cooking guy, Bailey? Like, what's your cooking life like?
A lot of air fryer.
Okay.
A lot of telling the girlfriend if she cooks for me, I'll do the dishes.
Okay. Yeah, when that transaction is out there, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I mean, dishes. I can get in the mix there. Bailey, in the same category, Outman and Suwinski, that's really fun, and I got even happier for Pirates fans. Like, I guess I didn't have Jack Suwinski in could be that tier and maybe is that tier. I guess this next group gets a little funkier, and I'll just introduce all three, and I'll try to tee you up again. Bailey's Creamy Beige. God, that's such an old reference now, and I stumbled over it. Oswaldo Cabrera, I've already said my vote may not be able to vote in this. The young man came to the office, basically a lifelong infielder, gets kicked to the corners at Yankee Stadium, which are both intriguing for different reasons. I watched him play some center field in this spring, and he looked very good out there. They also threw him a first baseman's mitt. He is supposedly that guy defensively, and knowing his personality a little better now, and from everything we've heard, nothing phases him. He wears this necklace on the Yankees. Never played right field, robbed a homer in his first inning. There's some very cool defensive stuff. He's a switch hitter. He started to take off at AAA, especially from the left side, which is kind of the Yankees cue to like, you have our blessing now. He got called up. He had a horrible first 21 games. He had a very good next 23 games to wrap up his 22 season. He's been off to a tough start this year, a 499 OPS after last night's game. Some of the at-bats haven't been great. And again, he's kind of a, I shouldn't label them COVID guys. Like you said, if there's Pasquantino for college guys that are just good along the way, but we don't see them as sexy. How about, I don't know. These are, what did you do at home, guys? What did you do on snow day, guys? His numbers after 2020 in the minor leagues were incredible. To go with that, if we're just talking about teams that have magic and believing in the uniforms, Luke Raley, Dodgers to Rays, basically as, high praise as you could get. Limited run with the Dodgers. The numbers weren't as great. His minor league numbers are interesting. He's got some highs. His minor league numbers go back to 2014 as a 19-year-old. Yeah. So, again,
He's 28, I think.
Yeah, you need to compartmentalize it a little differently, and that's a word I struggle with, too. And then who was our final guy in this group? Oh, Joey Wiemer with your Milwaukee Brewers, part of the freshmen I think there's been highs and lows. I think Brewers fans will tell you that. A guy that I will say, anyone that's watched him play, whose baseball knowledge I believe in, kind of give you some of the generic stuff, like he's a gamer and he gets the jersey dirty. Caveman Jake coming back out. So with that, Bailey, I'll kick all three to you, and you start doing your magic, man.
Well, I get the caveman brain with Joey Wiemer a little bit as well, because people on Brewers Twitter just call him the Weem Dog, and every time I just see him, I'm like, oh, it's the Weem Dog, sure. And he'll make like a great catch. He's just Weem Dogging it out there. I'll start with Luke Raley, because I actually feel like Raley of these three is probably most comparable to Outman and Suwinski in terms of just the profile, in terms of just like what they are, particularly as a hitter. Great nicknames out there for Luke Raley, by the way. Nuke Raley, but I've also seen it taken a further step into Nuke Reiki, which I'm not really sure if I agree with. I may be, maybe too far off the original.
That feels a little too much like Reiki, the healing for me. Like if you already have Nuke, I don't think you can do that. That feels contradictory. Luke to Nuke is really good basic baseball stuff, though.
So we're gonna find out. Is it Nuke Raley or is it Fluke Raley?
Ooh, drops the mic.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So Raley, big power, big strikeouts guy. I was looking at him compared to Outman, because they're both like, I think, over 30% strikeout rate, which is kind of where the alarm bells for most players start to go off a little bit. You're like, is this sustainable? Raley is actually like more aggressive than Outman. Like he swings more and he makes more contact in the zone. But the difference is like when he chases, he basically always whiffs, whereas Outman is like more likely to like battle a little bit, like foul off, like a slider, down 2 strikes. I would probably have Outman and Suwinski ahead of Raley, only really because of the age.
Right.
They're younger. If there's anyone on here who I feel like is maybe like less sustainable, it's probably Raley. But he's also having a terrific start to the season, and he plays for the Tampa Bay Rays. So it's kind of it's hard to count him out.
Is it strictly age? Like, is it if he was 25, would Outman, Suwinski, Raley be more of a toss up? And by the way, I don't say that. I don't say it lightly. Again, being the old man of this crew right now, like age matters. I respect Evan Longoria more every day. So is that kind of the only difference between those other two for you?
Well, the difference is I'm older than James Outman and Jack Suwinski, but I'm younger than Luke Raley. So even though there's really maybe not that much of a difference between 26 and 28, as a 27-year-old myself, I understand that those people younger than me are young and those people older than me are old and decrepit,
Yes. Yes. Hey, man. I would say once a month. I'm shocked to find out I'm older than Garrett Cole. Because he is like he looks like, if this were olden times, Garrett Cole would be like a military leader and trusted by the people, and I'd be one of the guys like playing the drums, hoping to get shot or not get shot.
Garrett Cole would be out there like, we have to go out there and take our team to battle this war. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna defeat the Prussians.
Bailey, that we're gonna edit that whole part out. We can't. I can't have Garrett hearing that.
That's bad for the company.
Yeah, that's just bad for the brand there.
I apologize.
It's
a brand risk.
It's okay. So I guess we have 3 guys that have been world beaters this season. I guess Raley, it also deserves to be said, a slight tier below, with his 913 OPS, but again, that's incredible. 613 slugging. Joey Wiemer, he again, the caveman Weem dog comes out in you. He's been playing. I think he's played all 3 outfield positions, primarily center field lately. He got off to a hot start, cold start, and it looks like he's starting to go again. Baseball and small sample size. We could talk ourselves into circles pretty easily with a lot of guys. We're gonna get to Perdomo in a minute, who his last year was as tough as it gets, and now we have a 1-month awesome sample size. I guess for Joey Wiemer, is it unfair I'm not lumping him with that crew because of 1 month, or it is the sample size and we have to do with that what we have to do with that?
No, I think it's all right to not lump him in there. If I was going to lump him in with any of these players, I would almost say he's got a little bit of that Suwinski in him. And what I mean by that is, Wiemer was seen as, kind of a big bat type prospect. And currently in the majors, he's 94th percentile sprint speed, 87th percentile arm strength, 96th percentile outs above average, playing, as you said, a lot of center field out there and making a lot of great plays out there. And so now the perspective is shifting a little bit where you're like, okay, are we thinking about him as the bat? Or are we thinking of him as like the full package, like just a really, really toolsy athlete all along? I really like Wiemer. If I wanted to have someone for the next, 5 years or so, I would take him over Raley. Just because I think Wiemer's been like been a pretty big prospect, like a good prospect, but I also think he's been underrated because I think guys like Sal Frelick and Garrett Mitchell have gotten a little bit more shine in that Brewers system. And I kind of feel like deep down Wiemer's maybe the best of those 3. So I'm big on the Weem dog, but also like as far as putting them in that group now, like I'm totally with you. Like we need to see that month where he just goes crazy with the bat. And it wouldn't surprise me if it happens soon, but with the start, Outman, Suwinski, and Raley have, like, that's kind of why they get, those first 3 spots in terms of our discussion.
Yeah, so Suwinski's pretty eye-opening for me, man. Again, the name, the uniform, and even the swing, like it was a lefty power swing that I was like, okay, like I almost want to sign him and myself up for the Iron Mill and like, let's hit 30 homers a year and bat 220 and yeah, hell yeah, Jack Suwinski. Do it from the 6 hole and for these new upstart Pirates. He's playing a great center field himself. Like the numbers like Jack Suwinski as a center fielder, which again, it's where this sport is just so ridiculous. And what trade was he a part of? He was the Adam Frazier
Adam
trade.
Frazier, yeah.
Wow. Him and your boy Tucapita Marcano for Adam Frazier and cash. Okay, I guess put an asterisk next to that one, because if he continues like this, that's wild. Bailey, I approach Oswaldo Cabrera a little nervous, but I'm also excited because I gave you Yankee options, and I was like, hey, if we want to talk Peraza, that sounds good, because I kind of believe he's going to end up being a solid major leaguer. I think he can play elite defense, even at shortstop for a few years. I think he's going to be able to hit and run enough that he can do a lot of things on a baseball field. Oswaldo does have me questioning some things, and that's just honest. So where are you at with him?
I see a lot of potential for improvement, honestly. Like he needs to work on the plate skills a little bit. Like he swings a lot. He's a pretty, free swinger out there. But when he swings, he makes contact. And I think that's key. He does have the bat to ball skills. It's maybe just the strike zone judgment. And like you said, he's electric. He's a great athlete. He's extremely versatile. And I think versatility is just more and more every year in Major League Baseball becoming more and more important. And, we've seen the way people talk about the elimination of the shift, they're saying athleticism is back with defense, because all the other good defenders last year, I'm not sure if you noticed, they were unathletic because they were hitting the ball right to them every time. But it's interesting because, right now, at least like rest of the season, I'd rather have the other four we named. But if you asked me exactly 1 month ago, I would have probably put Cabrera on the same tier as Outman. And I don't know if it's really fair to give him like that much of a downgrade, even though he's had, not the greatest start to the season. The other thing, too, is like with the switch hitters, there's always like extra hope, because you never know if they're going to be able to just like Cedric Mullins it and just start hitting from one side and then just become like way better and more consistent overall. So I think with Cabrera, I see a lot of like just potential there, and it feels like he like really could be on the cusp of something. And if you had to ask me right now, and look, part of it's like based on their age and their profile and all that, but like, will Oswaldo Cabrera have a longer Major League Baseball career than Luke Raley? I would probably pick Cabrera, so that's one thing to hang your hat on. But yeah, I'd say for rest of season, these four are probably ahead of him.
Yeah, I don't know if it's impatience. I don't know if it's been the Yankees, as I told you before this, they've been a tough watch. Like there's no other way to really chop it up early on in this baseball season, and they've needed help. And like, if Oswaldo Cabrera had a great 20 baseball games, which almost anyone that reaches the major league level can do, I can chop up, name any defensive stalwart. Like Nick Ahmed's had 20 great games of baseball and UConn, and I guess I'm kind of being rude to him. But the point is, if you're a major league player that can hit at any sort of point at that level, you can have a nice 20-game stretch. And if Oswaldo happened to time it with this Yankees losing streak, he would be a hero. We would be saying Oswaldo Cabrera should be an all-star. Instead, there's people that are like, he's never going to work, which I think that's unfair. I don't know if he's an all-star. But I do know his first 21 games last year, 187, 225, a 478 OPS. It's not far off from what he's done this season, and that coincides with the Yankees' tough stretch of August last year and now this part of this year. The next 23 games, he was 304, 389, and 984 OPS while playing different defensive positions and switch hitting. So I guess my current realistic, if you had me say like, pick something for Oswaldo Cabrera, would be that he will play defense and he will be a streaky hitter. And I think that ties into being a switch hitter. Because again, if you're one side's feeling good, one side's feeling not, maybe both are feeling good at the same time, both are feeling bad at the same time. Or, I do think of all the positions, left field at Yankee Stadium, it would be his weakest, and that's the role that he's truly been thrust into. That I do think all of that goes in. And I hope what I'm saying at the end of the month is that, yeah, he's a streaky guy that when he gets hot, it's pretty awesome. And when he gets cold, it's not as awesome. But as a major league career goes, as a guy who's played a lot of the out of the park baseball, Bailey, having a guy that can play every position and switch hit and get hot, you can make a long career out of that.
Yeah, exactly. And it may not be that his best role is everyday left fielder. His best role may be whoever's, sitting out and, taking a break that day. And so if they're able to better utilize him as a piece where he can rotate in and out of the lineup in different spots defensively, I think he has potential to contribute a lot of value, and the speed too, because you've heard it from, Yankees fans for years now. They just don't feel like the team is all that athletic or good on the base paths.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see or BBD, I don't know if you've looked, but Oswaldo Cabrera's sprint speed percentile, 74.
Yeah.
Which, I guess the other young guys, Peraza and Volpe, are they are speed guys that it feels a little different.
Where they'd be categorized as burners.
That's a little bit of a different category for Oswaldo. So, and again, this is where it's clicky, and Bailey, we don't even have to do it if we want, but it seems like if these were stocks, which again, I've bought stocks once in my life. The fact that I reference it, and it's on one of the apps, and I don't even know if I own them. I clicked some buttons. It seems like you're Suwinski, Outman.
I'm gonna go Wiemer third.
Wiemer.
Yeah.
And then Cabrera, Raley, just due to age, or?
Yeah, if we're talking career, then I'm probably going that order.
If it was for this season, how about this? For this season, and maybe this is where Luke Raley can fight back, being on these Rays and performing. How much does Raley jump?
Yeah, I'd put Raley up at third, because Wiemer, as good as he is, it's possible he just doesn't hit all that well this year.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess caveman style, I'm still going to believe in Dodgers over Pirates for Outman and Suwinski, which I hate myself for. But I do think, and it's where baseball is beautiful, I think Pirates and Orioles we are going to respect very differently as franchises in a couple years. My God, what they've done, what Baltimore's done with Cano and just everyone they're tapping into, that kind of Astros mentality is, God, they're such a problem. I've fallen full in love with them, Bailey. I don't know if you know that.
With Orioles or Pirates?
Orioles.
Yeah, both teams are fun, but yeah, you mentioned Cano. Is it possible that guy will just retire with 500 innings and no hits allowed?
Why not? Just hit one batter every 25th batter and just get everyone else out.
Works so far.
Man, they just hit in their bullpen pitches that they're going to win so many games. And hey, if you're looking for some gift-giving help this Mother's Day, how about Lightbox Lab-Grown Diamonds? Let them do the work. You get it. That work will happen every day they wear that necklace or those studs. Make their jaw drop, whether it's mom or your spouse. Stop getting the same old bleh gift. The thought's nice, but a nice gift is nicer. Maybe that should be the tagline. And if you use promo code WakeInJake10, that'll give you 10% off your purchase. Shop Lightbox Lab-Grown Diamonds. Use code WakeInJake10. 10% off your purchase. There's a link in the description. Make sure you pick up your game this Mother's Day. It's coming up. Holy smokes.
Soon.
Might have to put in the purchase right now. Lightbox, go check them out. Click the link. Thanks, Lightbox. Bailey, this next category you labeled as heat check ? So I'll let you define that a little more. And there's three guys I really like. One, I think pure baseball and his thick neck, and Josh Jung. Perdomo from my Snakes, obviously. And Graham Ashcraft, honestly, mostly from MLB The Show, because he's kind of an MLB The Show legend. So I'll let you run with all three of those guys.
Yeah, I'll start with Josh Jung. I do agree that he is pure baseball. He looks like a baseball player. He looks like a guy who's going to play he looks like a guy who's going to play like 13 years, you know? Yeah, he's off to an interesting start right now. It's really not all that dissimilar to like Outman, Raley, where it's like, wow, this guy's striking out 32% of the time and walking 6% of the time. Like, am I gonna get really all that excited about that? But he also has, 6 home runs in 26 games, and he's barreling up the ball, and he's hitting the ball pretty hard. And I think defensively, he looks like pretty good at the hot corner there. That people have always kind of rated his defense there. They felt like he was gonna, click there, no problem. And I think the thing for me with Josh Jung that really excites me, it's not so much the underlying data, it's just that because of injuries, like leading into this year, he really hadn't played all that much. And I think, the Rangers were kind of counting on, hopefully 2022, Josh Jung will be our, starting third baseman, and he'll be there every day alongside Seager and Simeon. And that didn't really work out. But coming into this year, he had played a total of 57 games in 2022. So I'm excited to see where his career goes. If I had to give him, I don't know, what's like a good comp? Like, is he Eduardo Escobar? Or is he maybe a little bit better than that? I don't want to discount the career Eduardo Escobar has had, but he's a guy that you will go to the ballpark in Arlington and you will see that Josh Jung is the third baseman as always, and you'll be like, we got a pretty good third baseman.
I might keep it in the organization, Bailey, because I love baseball. I love the stat side. I just knocked over a mug. I love out of the park baseball. That's one of our bonds. Like, run the numbers. Let's see what happens. And it's baseball. Like, there's highs and lows of everyone's potential season. I like that he's from Texas. It should mean nothing, but I like that he's from Texas. I like that he's a part of a baseball family. Shouldn't matter at all. And again, like, let's not downplay. This guy was the 8th pick of the draft in 2019, so this is a very real prospect. He looks the part. He has opposite field power. I think he's hit 3 or 4 homers that way. He feels like a third baseman. This is all. I haven't said a single stat yet. My comp, which you said Eddie Escobar, which again, you're just saying, a year in, year out, you can rely on them to be a solid ball player, kind of like 2.5 WAR. I'll go different. I'll stay in Texas. And again, this is a different baseball player, but Hank Blaylock. The current vibes I get from Josh Jung is like, you might sneak into 1 or 2 All-Star games if you have a hot start, but you're going to play third base. You're going to provide pop. You can't make a mistake to them. I guess where baseball's young and exciting is like when Austin Riley first came up, I didn't know what he would be, especially in a time where third basemen this could be a golden era, that I don't know if Josh Jung will clock in on that list. But also, if I'm a Texas Rangers fan, I would say he could, right? Like if he does this as a full campaign and then he gets better, it's just in baseball, you can't ever expect that out of a player. It's like an impossibility unless you're a Tatis.
Well, Austin Riley wasn't even really all that good his first couple of years in Major League Baseball. So, and they were messing with him. He was having to play some left field. Like, it's tough when you first get established. So I think when you look at someone like Josh Jung, like right away, he's presenting you like, I would say a closer to like sustainable version of like what a long-term Josh Jung could look like, where it's like, yeah, maybe he hits, 250 but maybe he slugs like 480 and he plays like, average to above average defense at the hot corner. Like, that's a great player,
And that's kind of the whole point of this, because we could, and I don't want Raley to be the target because Rays fans hate me enough, but the age and what baseball is, like a number of these guys we talk about aren't going on to multiple All-Star appearances and aren't, baseball is a tough sport. And if one injury or one hole in your swing or something begins to get exposed, it can be a fast track out. And I think that's why I said all those things about Josh Jung feeling every part of the part with Texas and look and vibes. And even he's playing a nice third base too, which factors in, obviously. In baseball, and whether it's NFL quarterbacks, like, there's always a guessing game at the pro level. And I guess Josh Jung hits so much of the wild card factors that we don't know if they matter, that I'm just like, he almost gives me, even of that previous group, of like the most solid. Like, I expect him to be an MLB starting third baseman for the next 6 years. I don't know to what level, but like, I feel like I can pencil that in almost over all the rest of the guys.
I mean, that's insanely valuable, because if you look at like a top 100 prospects list, like how many guys, would you give that projection to? Like maybe 40 or 50 of them, like that's tough. That's a tough thing to try to project 6 years out. I will say, with respects to like Luke Raley and the Rays fans watching too, like, your team does this. Like Logan Morrison, like had one incredible year with them, and then that was about it, and so that's not us like being discouraging. That's saying like, you guys work your magic, but we just don't know if it applies when they leave.
Lomo, he was hot in the streets for a while, huh? That's baseball. Perdomo and Ashcraft, obviously similar baseball players.
Incredibly similar.
Man,
which one throws the 97-mile-per-hour cutter? Is that Perdomo?
I think on a couple throws. Perdomo has, this is where Yankee fans, I think, sometimes don't know how much they're spoiled, because they don't see a lot of rookies get thrown out there for 148 games and have a 547 OPS. And that's what D-backs fans watched last year, which that's tough on a player, that's tough on fans. And man, I don't know what it means, but good on him for one-dotting the first month of the baseball season. And then Ashcraft, I'm really interested to get your thoughts on, because, from our last episode, I said I felt less confident about pitchers than ever. The guy has velo, and is his biggest problem just being overshadowed by the hardest throwing starting pitching we've maybe ever seen, and mini Randy Johnson?
Well, I'll start with Perdomo. So I have told this story many times on various baseball podcast media, but I will mention it just because I do want to talk about Geraldo Perdomo. When he was in fall league, like probably 3 or 4 years ago, like a while ago, they were using the automatic ball strike system, and he struck out, caught looking on full count, and when he walked back to the dugout, he flipped off the track man that called him out. And that to me, it's a wonderful story. I think it represents, like, even if we move to the robo umps, like, there's that spirit of the game, like, won't change, of just like, fuck you, ump, you know. And I think that's great. So but as far as like Perdomo, like, that's actually kind of like represents who he is as a player, because he's a big plate discipline guy. Like, and I think that's what kind of scares me off him a little bit. He just doesn't swing a lot. And I think when you're like that actually increases the amount of like volatility we may see in your game, because that's fewer batted balls in play. That's more, at bats going down to a 3-2 count with a pitch right at the edge, and you basically let the umpire decide your fate at that point. And so it's like a Trent Grisham type offensive profile almost, or at least Trent Grisham prior to this year, he's swinging a little bit more. And what excites me about Perdomo is I think he plays really nice defense as well, all over the infield. So he's one, I guess, if we're calling it a heat check, I don't know. I need to see more before I'm convinced it's legit.
Yeah, I was clicking around his Baseball Savant looking at some of the hits, and there's a lump of 4, like right by the first base, second base hole that I don't know. I think if the scouting reports change a little bit, that those could potentially turn into outs. I'll say this: he plays really good defense at shortstop, which if you can barely swing the bat, you'll be out there, and kind of case in point to last year. This is also an organization that I mentioned did run Nick Ahmed out there for a bunch of years, who was glove first. So, organizationally, I think it's a sign that, like, he'll be out there. And I think, one of the most important things, and I wanted to mention this with Oswaldo, to start the year, they didn't let him bat versus lefties. Like, they viewed that as an opportunity to play other players. And I think that kind of messed with his rhythm a little bit. I think that shoots down your confidence as a young switch hitter. Like, oh, okay, so the team is openly saying they do not think I can hit left-handed pitching as good as Aaron Hicks. I think that can do something to you. Where, hey, Perdomo, one of the things he has going for him in that hit chart I talked about, you cannot fully shift anymore. So if he can put enough of the bat on the ball to get through the infield, that plays. And he's going to get the opportunities. For him, it's just the bar will be set so differently that if he has 700 OPS seasons, he's a plus player that I think part of me likes, and I wanted to say this also with some of the other players who got cups of coffee. When a guy gets run and it doesn't go how you want, like we talked about with baseball, some of these guys just go the whole time. The first time you do run into adversity is a head tilt, record scratch, like, oh, crap. And, man, I can only imagine what was going through his 22-year-old head as he's playing for the Snakes and just getting crushed at day in, day out. To have a big month like that and to even know, to confirm you have that in the chamber, I think is massive for a young player who's 23 and going to get reps. So he's obviously not a one-dotter because no one is except Mike Trout every year. But, man, I think he's, this is a guy you'll see at shortstop for the next 4 years, 3 if things really got sour, I guess. And then Graham Ashcraft, again, similar players.
Yeah, I mean, Ashcraft, same thing. He once flipped off the track man after it called a walk.
Yeah.
Ashcraft, he's kind of a unicorn. Like we've tried our best and maybe not necessarily done a great job of giving like comps to certain players that we've been talking about. I'm not sure if I've seen a great comp to Graham Ashcraft. This is a guy who throws a cutter 97, and this is a guy who like the Eno Saris, stuff plus type models absolutely love. But, he strikes out under 20% of the batters he faces and walks 12% of them, by the way, at least this year. I really like Graham Ashcraft. And the reason I really like him is because I think it shows that, you don't always have to be like the big whiff guy. And when I look at him and I see a 56% ground ball rate, and a guy throwing a cutter, like that makes me believe that like he can, be a pretty good starter in this league for years to come. Pitchers are like the most finicky, and we have a few more at the end here we're going to talk about. Like we talk about, some of these guys, these outfielders, they're 26, they're 27, as if that's all the development they're going to do. With a pitcher, some of them don't figure out till they're 30, Right. And that's kind of exciting for me when I see an arm this electric and he's 25. Like he's got so much potential to grow still because he is very young for a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball nowadays. So I'm pretty pumped on Ashcraft. You can't like, at least for this heat check section, relative to like everyone's like expectations, like I kind of like him the most of these 3 players, even though they're incomparable.
He is interesting. And Bailey, you're you know some numbers here and there. Do you know his lefty righty splits?
Is he running reverse splits? Because cutter guys sometimes do that.
Good cutter guys do that, and Graham Ashcraft is doing that. Lefties 196, a 508 OPS. This is career now, 24 games, 276 plate appearances. Righties, 324, 384, 891 OPS.
Interesting.
So, and here comes the baseball conundrum, right? You either see opportunity or you see a guy that's about to get rocked.
Yeah.
And I guess, and with any arm that has talent, like you said, pitching takes time to figure it out. You're gonna believe in that and bet on it, because a 97 cutter that gets lefties out. This year, lefties are hitting 071 with a 348 OPS.
Yeah.
If Graham Ashcraft, as a hard-throwing righties, current issue is getting out righties, I'll bet on him.
I will say with regards to Ashcraft, he's also developed like a pretty nasty slider last offseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if 2022 versus 2023, he only has like 5 starts this season. So it's a really small sample if those numbers versus the righties start to come down.
Yeah, the slider does have good numbers on it this year that they might be, hey, we got to pump that up a little bit. And, yeah, man, hey, this is very lazy, and that's a chunk of my life, but I don't know, could this guy be a version of Lance Lynn that throws, I don't know, gets a lot of weak contact? And I guess he's a little more wild right now, and he'd have to develop that. And like we're basically saying no, that he needs a quote unquote off-speed pitch, even though Lance Lynn's kind of cut fastball was his off-speed pitch.
It's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough it would be a lot more hot takey if any of us were like, oh, Ashcraft's going to be out of the league in a couple years. Like,
and I'm going to be like, he's going to win the Cy Young, you know?
Give me all the Ashcraft stock. Man, if the Reds can increase on the margins a little bit with those young pitchers, I don't know. I guess I want to believe. Will it be a Pirates-Reds next 5 years in the Central?
Could be. I mean, Ellie De La Cruz just started his minor league season. You know, you just never know.
It's the youth movement. Bailey, this final category that maybe should have lumped together, but it's also a little bit of Yankees clickbait action or twisting the knife. I don't know. You labeled it bounce back this year, ? The W's, Waldichuck, Wesneski, and then I half-heartedly wanted to throw Brito into this whole conversation because he's just the perfect prospect for me in this, because was never a high prospect, heard good things, he has solid minor league numbers, he doesn't strike out a ton of guys, but he's performed. That it's, you know, you put him in the baseball soup and we find out 3 years from now if he's a good pitcher, or like you're saying with starting pitchers, sometimes you put him in the baseball soup and 5 years later they're a totally different guy. So Waldichuck, Wesneski, Brito, some Yankee farm hands. Where are you at with this crew?
Yeah, I've watched some of the Waldichuck starts, and it's not always an easy watch. Like and some of these starts, I feel like they're really like leaving him out there to figure it out. And I guess if you're the Oakland A's, like maybe that's like the right thing to be doing when you have a young, you know, cost controlled player. But he hasn't really looked great to me, to the point where even someone like Brito, who has also struggled with the Yankees, I would almost feel more confident in like Brito getting like a good run of starts at some point in the season over someone like Waldichuck. Wesneski is the one for me that I think will have like Yankees fans shaking their fists. I know, Waldichuck was part of the Frankie Montas trade, which hasn't gone great, and Wesneski, I guess, was that the Efros trade? Yes. So that's more unlucky, I would say. But I mean, Wesneski's I just kind of think he's him, even though the ERA doesn't quite show it yet. And it's the slider. His slider is just pretty freaking unbelievable. And he had a big start for the Cubs. I think it was like maybe not his most recent start, but he had like a 7 innings pitch, like bunch of strikeouts, like maybe a couple hits type start. And I feel like probably as we move along, we'll see more of those. So in terms of like bounce back rest of season, I think Wesneski definitely will. wouldn't surprise me if Brito did, and then maybe in third, most likely would probably be Waldichuck, because it's just a tough situation, and he's just on a team that organizationally has given up. I mean, it's just kind of a bummer to see, and I think that's a tough place for a pitcher or any young major league player to develop. When you know that you just don't have like that support system that you would expect at the major league level.
Yeah, it's tough because you can also spin the Oakland thing that if things do start clicking and you run into a couple foul outs, like you can, you kind of have an advantage as a pitcher, and a place not known as a hitter's ballpark. Wesneski's interesting, like you mentioned, that slider. That's I guess where I almost get nervous for him. And Cubs fans talk about, and I'd love if you have feedback on it, they talk about their pitching coach like he is a god. And maybe he is. I mean, go Cubbies, go. I guess I get a little nervous when you talk about that slider. And, that's something I've heard from other people is, if that becomes the thing and you're getting, each start you're having trouble, the team starts to light up and say, ooh, what if Wesneski could give us 1.2 out of the pen? Then if you're really good at that, look at Mike King, it stinks, but is awesome, right? Like your electric reliever.
That's Adbert Alzolay, by the way. That's exactly who's doing that right now.
You've got basically a job for life, or a job for 10 years if you want it, but you'll never get that opportunity to start and go that, say, Graham Ashcraft is going to have, because the Reds are going to say, like, hey, we kind of need you to be a dude. Kicking out there doesn't really help us. Like, we need you to be a good starting pitcher, where, say, if the Cubs are in the heat of it and Wesneski's ERA is at 5.2 and they snag someone at the deadline, I don't know. It's the moving parts of baseball that now we see Seth Lugo having some success as a starter for San Diego, and he's been banging on the door for a while, saying like, I can do this, guys. But where the opportunity for him was in the Mets bullpen. And Brito, man, it's again, you never know. Right now, I'm hanging on to the hilarious tidbit that it was the Twins both times that were his bad starts. So in his four other starts, he has like a 0.91 ERA. The Twins just destroyed him. So I don't know, man. I'm the changeup is very real, and for him, I think like a lot of pitchers, and it's why you hear scouts rave if someone has 3 good pitches. His slider right now is very much a hope something bad doesn't happen slider. That if that becomes a weapon pitch, because right now fastball changeup he can attack a ton of lefties and do well. He's gonna need that slider to tick up to be able to do it. But you go into the dumb baseball adages. He attacks the zone. He's not scared, and he's found a way to get guys out at every level that if he gets an opportunity to figure it out at the major league level, why bet against the guy, I guess is what I'd say.
He looks good in pinstripes. Like, you just see him out there on the mound, and you just like it fits. He looks good.
And the Yankees need a cheap starter for the next 5 years, so that's definitely not in my head, but absolutely is my head. Wow, it looks like I totally missed the Vinny Capra for Tyler Heineman trade. Did we not?
Oh my goodness.
Did we not?
Vinny Capra, did you know that he's the grandson of famous director Frank Capra?
Now I do.
It's not
I
true.
did not.
I made it up, but
damn it. Damn you, foolish Bailey. We covered a lot there, Bailey, and I thank you. Is there anything you need to tell the people about Foolish Bailey, Foolish Baseball, in the upcoming weeks or months that may be different or not different? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just doing weird stuff,
Okay.
Like I kind of feel like I've reached a little bit of a point in my YouTube career where I feel a little bit like I've said my piece, and now I'm just kind of like just going after the weirdest stuff I can go after. I made a video, I guess it was in March, about a player named Tommy Tevenow who played, 20s and 30s, who you've never heard of, but also was like a World Series hero and a complete lightweight, with the bat otherwise. I'm just having fun with it. And so, come watch some Foolish Baseball, some Foolish Bailey content and have fun with me.
Man. Yeah, I mean, I know you know the YouTube game as well as anyone, and it's Brewers Catching Lab. I was shocked to see some of those numbers come out the other day, because you just hear Contreras brother and you're like, hitter only, and it's like, oh no,
Right.
he's been killing it this year. And yeah, I mean, I'm just laughing right now as I go to Foolish Baseball. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, 207K views over 4 days. Babe Ruth had a really weird nemesis, 162. And you just never know with the damn algorithm. You think you put Babe Ruth in anything and be like, oh, baseball, caveman.
Yeah.
I know him. So, hey, man, keep cranking. John Boy Media and Wake and Jake, we're big Bailey fans. We just cracked 10K subs on Wake and Jake.
Oh.
So we are happy about that. And yeah, I've told you, and I guess I don't know if I've told the people, but would love to do a once a month thing with you and chop it up over some baseball. So
Yeah, definitely.
Bailey, go follow Bailey, YouTube, Twitter. Sometimes he has good jokes. Sometimes it's like, come on,
Sometimes
Bailey.
they're not all going to be winners.
You can't. Malik Monk.
Got to take some chances.
You gotta throw some shots up and see what happens. I think that's it for us. Thank you, Bailey. We'll do it again sometime soon. Love.
All right, let's.
Kisses to Atlanta. New Drake album.